Welcome to the Hudson Show. Coming up, a new sandwich that might be coming to KFC a year from now.
Also, is MrBeast right to complain?
All that and more on the way next. It's Monday, January 13th, 2025. What better time than to talk about 2023 film The Flash for some reason? Director Andy Muschietti Muschietti. He was the director of The Flash that came out in 2023. It did not do as well, I suppose, as they hoped. And now, for some reason, he is explaining why. And the reason why, according to him, is that he says on a movie like this, quote, they expect to bring even your grandmother to the theaters, but he learned in private conversations that most people, quote, just don't care about the Flash as a character. I guess this qualifies as a do you buy it?
Right.
Do you buy that the reason the Flash failed is because people do not care about the Flash?
I don't buy it. I'm a fan of Andy Muschietti's work. He's the director of It. And
very nice.
I was very excited when they brought him on to direct The Flash. I watched The Flash in theaters, was very disappointed in the film because I feel like it doesn't capture the magic and the stories that we have read in the comic books. I've shared before, I'm a big DC Comics fan. And so I was really excited for this Flash movie. And it was disappointing. Now, I get what he means. Like, these Warner Brothers films do have these extravagant budgets. So it is kind of like they're expecting everyone to go to the theater to help them make their money back. And so it does need to kind of appeal to everyone. But you're the director. You're supposed to make it appeal to more people.
Yeah.
And I don't think he did that at all in the film. I think it's actually just very kind of odd in a lot of what it, focuses on and says. So I think he's partly to blame for that. But also, you can't say that people don't care about the Flash as a character when the Flash was one of the most popular TV shows for 10 years, right? Like on the CW, and had huge moments in TV with these big crossovers that were like huge events on television when stuff like that just doesn't happen anymore. So I feel like he's just lying to himself.
Yeah, it feels like he's making excuses. I do think it can be true. I was going to bring up the show, but the show being popular is an entirely different scale than, like, it was popular, but that shows that some people do care about the Flash. I think as a whole, do people care about the Flash as much as they do other characters? Others, like, he's not one of the top tier superheroes.
No.
But I don't know, maybe Batman might be a character people care about. And look who was in the movie, Batman. So you can't make that excuse. Furthermore, do people care about the Guardians of the Galaxy? They didn't. They didn't even know they were until the movie came out.
Exactly.
So if it was a better movie, it doesn't matter if people care about the character ahead of time. Once they start seeing people coming, critics and people coming out of the theaters going, the Flash movie was awesome, you got to go see it. Then people all of a sudden would have cared a lot more about the Flash than they thought they did. So I think, he's just trying to make excuses for himself at this point. But I don't buy it.
Nope, I don't buy it either.
Yeah, we're on to you, Andy. It's been an entire weekend. We don't do a Saturday show, so we didn't get to instantly react. But I'll let you take your victory lap. Ohio State beats Texas on Friday night. It feels refreshingly for me so long ago. I've almost let go of the anger.
Well, it was an interesting game, to say the least. I feel like as we both predicted over, last week when we were previewing these semifinals, we both mentioned how we feel like because the playoff got expanded and you have all these earlier games in the first rounds, you're probably going to get more competitive semifinal matches because you're kind of weeding out the weakest links.
Right.
And we did get that. I feel like Texas came in not only with a chip on their shoulder because everybody was counting them out, but also they came in with a really good defensive game plan against an Ohio State team that had looked unstoppable on offense in the first two playoff games. They they stopped Jeremiah Smith from doing anything. And that felt kind of like you weren't going to do that. And so, they made Jeremiah Smith like not an option for Will Howard. And yet they still lost. It still wasn't enough. And so that's what, to me, shows how good this Ohio State team is, even though how I was frustrated watching the game, being like, why can't we do that? Why are we getting in our own way, shooting our own foot off with these penalties? It's still like Texas came out there with probably one of the best game plans against Ohio State and still couldn't get it done against this team, which just shows how hot they are right now.
Yeah, when you put it that way, I like to think of it as we were both right about the game. Texas did, like, their defense played great.
Yeah.
But for a couple of key moments where they absolutely crapped in the bed, they should have won. Like, they were very equally matched, I would say.
I don't know if they would have won, but maybe went to overtime, you know?
And who actually knows in the stupidity of college overtime, who knows what would have happened.
Right.
But, like, if they had not just totally failed when what was it, Chris Fowler, whoever was the broadcaster for the game, called it the Travion Henderson screen at the end of the first half, that you could see it coming a mile away, and they still let it happen.
Right.
And then, of course, for Texas too, I don't want to take away credit from Ohio State because they still played great when the key thing that they've been doing previously in the playoffs was taken away. They still played a very great game. Their defense played excellent, but I also just feel like Texas lost the game as much as Ohio State won it, because every time Texas, their defense or whatever, they would get back into the game and make it like a toss up, and then they would do something incredibly dumb. Like I said, like the allowing that screen pass to go for 75 yards for a touchdown at the end of the first half, and even more so, the baffling goal line play calling when they could have had the chance to tie the game near the end of the second half, that obviously Jack Sawyer takes back, sacks Quinn Ewers and takes the fumble back for a touchdown. Just it's unfathomable how they let it get to that point where Quinn Ewers was put in that situation in the first place. I thought Quinn Ewers played fine. I thought the outside of that sequence, their play calling was great. Like, Sark really was, their coach was drawing stuff up because Ohio State's defense was flying all over the field too and played a great game. So I thought, I don't know. It just felt like two good teams, and one team did dumber things in the key moments.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people will look at that big play with the strip, and then the scoop and score, which was an amazing play. I mean, my family, as we're watching that, was absolutely going nuts watching Jack Sawyer do that. But I think the more important play in that entire little sequence is actually the one right before that, when Caleb Downs just shoots the gap and tackles the guy for a loss, one of the running backs for Texas. To me, that was the key play in that drive, because so many times you will see that be converted into a touchdown. But Caleb Downs read it so well and was able to get him and tackle him for a loss. And at that point, you just felt like Ohio State had held off so much in that end zone drive that there was just like very little chance that Texas was going to score a touchdown. And then, of course, the roommate situation came to a head. All I was thinking about as Jack Sawyer was running to score that touchdown was the Vine from like the 2010s, which was like, and they were roommates. That's all I could think about.
Yeah, but I will say, the way the Texas defense played and the way they were able to shut down Ohio State for much of the game does encourage me cheering for Notre Dame a week from now. How early is too early to start getting excited about a food item coming to a menu at a fast food restaurant in the future? And also, how early is too early to start talking about the holidays?
Oh, man, we just got out of the holidays. I mean, I just put my Christmas tree down.
Yeah, me too. Wait, this weekend?
Yeah.
I put the tree down earlier, but all the other decorations, which you would think would be easier, I didn't do till this weekend.
Yeah. I mean, it's just the delay is after the holidays to get anything done it's always hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like we just got out of the holidays.
So in other words, now's the perfect time.
No.
To start talking about the Christmas 2025, where KFC, it's rumored, will be bringing a new menu item. So just start counting down to probably like, I'd give it till about November-ish when you might be seeing this at a KFC near you. And that is their festive chicken sandwich, which is their original recipe chicken topped with original recipe stuffing and cranberry sauce. This is something that they already have launched in Canada in years past and then started testing out here in the United States in Cleveland this past holiday season. And assuming that test went well, coming here in 2025, probably around November, we'll be seeing a Thanksgiving holiday-themed KFC chicken sandwich.
Yeah, this feels more Thanksgiving than like Christmas with the cranberry and the stuffing. I feel like those are more popular Thanksgiving foods.
And you do probably more like ham.
Yeah.
Ham for Christmas.
Exactly. That's what my family always did was like the turkey for Thanksgiving, the ham for Christmas. So yeah, this feels more like a Thanksgiving food. So I thought, when you were talking about it, for whatever reason, my brain went to Christmas because we were just obviously celebrating Christmas not too long ago. But yeah, I feel like this would probably be coming around more towards Thanksgiving. So maybe like end of October, beginning November.
It feels like they would just bring it out, once Halloween is past.
Yeah.
And then just ride it through the holidays.
Yep.
Ride it all the way through, possibly all the way up to New Year's. Bafflingly, although it is a festive chicken sandwich meant to, give you the taste of the holidays without having to cook a whole holiday meal yourself, it does not include gravy in any way, shape, or form.
Even though they have that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, if they do start selling this, I guess you could DIY that.
Yeah. Or just order the mashed potatoes and gravy on the side.
Right.
Maybe they'll put a combo meal together that's like a Thanksgiving meal.
And just dip it in the potatoes and gravy.
You could.
That would be a mess.
Yep.
But it probably tastes really good.
Maybe. We don't know.
If you really want to capture the essence of the holidays too, you could order this and then put it in your fridge for a day. And so it tastes like holiday leftovers, which are the best part of holiday meals.
That could be a good idea. Well, I will say one thing for sure. Mm-hmm. We don't know if this will end up on the menu or not. We don't know how the test went. There's
no guarantee.
It's a speculation, but what is not a speculation is if it is on the menu, we will try it on a food fight.
I guarantee that is a guarantee. You can take that to the bank, Jack. We do have an actual food fight coming up later this morning. The new Cheese Pizza Cheetos. We'll see how those are. You can watch all of our food fights on the Hudson RadioU YouTube channel and Facebook page. Also on YouTube, you can watch MrBeast, of course. I don't know if you saw, he posted a new video over the weekend.
I did not.
I did watch this one from MrBeast called 2000. I helped 2,000 people walk again. He goes through, this is one of his, what would you call it, philanthropic videos, where he literally gives 2,000 people that are like amputees for one reason or another, weren't able to walk. He gives them prosthetic legs, many of them in the United States, but many of them internationally as well. And so another instance of MrBeast. Some people question his motives, but at the end of the day, he helps a lot of people.
He does.
You can't be upset about that.
Yep.
At the end of the day, these are a bunch of people that couldn't walk otherwise.
Right.
And I do think it's nice too how like he sheds some light on some of their stories and what they've gone through and things like that. And then at the end of the video, he gets even a little more possibly controversial than he has in the past, because he says, the quote is from the end of the video, "I wanted to end this video a little differently than normal. And I wanted to say that the fact that some of these people had insurance and were denied, the fact that these people had insurance but didn't have the right coverage, it just doesn't sit right with me." He said their only chance right now of getting a prosthetic leg so they can walk again, they can go and get a job, is for a YouTuber to step in and help them, which is absurd. And I think a lot of us, people complain about their health insurance. or about health insurance generally, but I think most of us just don't really understand how it works.
Right.
But that said, the idea that these people did have insurance and it doesn't cover against, against getting a prosthetic leg feels like that is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, it feels like it shouldn't be the case. I believe if you are like a veteran, there is definitely coverage for you, if you're part of like the VA or something like that.
That makes a ton of sense.
But if you're just a regular person, end up in a really bad accident, like a car accident, and, they have to amputate a leg. Unfortunately, that sometimes happens.
Yeah.
Then, I guess you could end up in a scenario where your healthcare just denies you being able to have this prosthetic leg. And I don't know how much they cost, but I would imagine, as anything else in our healthcare system, it is probably extremely expensive to get this.
Yeah. That is, I think, at least one of the people, obviously, out of 2000, that's bound to be. But I believe one of the stories that I remember seeing was a guy who did lose his legs in a car accident. And so that's definitely, it can happen.
Yeah.
And for anybody that's, we all have insurance, at least we're supposed to, legally. Who's going through their entire insurance plan before, you sign up, especially if it's for your job or whatever, it's like, yep, this is the one I have. And you don't know what it covers.
No.
You have no idea. But I also feel like insurance, like when you think about insurance, I feel like we can all get upset if they don't pay for enough of this medication or whatever, that, the stuff that's in some cases you need it to live, but in other cases, this makes things better for me.
Yeah.
Like the lower end stuff that also too, if you had a decent enough job, you could pay for this. But how many people could actually, after losing their legs, in any situation, be able to go ahead and pay for prosthetic legs for this? You know what I mean?
Right.
That feels like the exact type of thing that insurance is there for. Right. And so the idea that there's so many people out there that weren't covered is pretty absurd.
Yeah. And like you said, the fact that he had to come in as a YouTuber and help these people. And I'm sure there's people he didn't even get to.
Yeah.
He can't help everybody.
There's got to be more than 2,000 people worldwide.
Yeah. That were, not able to access it. And so
that is one thing too. When he does these philanthropic videos where he's helping people, it's always nice. And the people that are getting helped have to be so grateful.
Right.
And I'm grateful to see him doing this. But then I'm also thinking, what if I was one of the people, he helped a bunch of people see, right? I have horrible eyes. Why couldn't that be me?
And why wasn't I on the list?
Yeah. How do I sign up for this?
I was number 2001.
I didn't know they put out an application for, a casting call for people that need things fixed. But nevertheless, it is, I am grateful for him doing this. And when you have the biggest YouTuber, I think, in the world, mentioning this, hopefully it can make some people think twice about how we can change things for the better. They can actually have the power to do that.
Right. And I think that's why he, said what he did. And he also posted on X following up, with more comments about it. So hopefully it does help bring some change into that reality that so many Americans and people all over the world face. Yeah.
And nevertheless, at least he helped 2,000 people, which is more than most of us can say.
Yeah.
And you know what they say too, if you make a difference in just one person's life, that makes it all worth it. We were just talking about MrBeast. He, his newest video, he gives 2,000 people prosthetic legs so they can walk again, amputees. Max texted in, we love Max here on the Hudson Show, who says he has a prosthetic leg, $50,000.
Oh my goodness.
How? And so, first of all, then you start thinking, how much did MrBeast, how is he able to afford this? I know he's the biggest YouTuber in the world, but holy, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But also, it goes to show why the average everyday person, if it's not covered under their insurance, if it's not completely covered even, how are they supposed to, if they are in some tragic situation where they lose one or both of their legs, particularly, I guess, both, because then you think about doubling the cost of everything.
100,000, yeah.
Yeah. I wonder, Max, where does your, there's got to be different levels of prosthetic legs, right?
I would imagine.
Is your leg the Lamborghini of legs, or?
Well, I would imagine, there's a part of that, but also depending on what your amputation level is. I don't even know the right word to describe it. Max, maybe you can give us some more insight on this. But, some people have their leg amputated at the knee.
Sure, yeah.
Some people have it further up. And so it's just like it's different levels. So I would imagine that also impacts the cost, the size, whatever it may be that you're getting for your prosthetic leg based off of your specific amputation.
Yeah. Max also says, and this makes sense too, you don't even think about, he's on his fourth one. They wear out over time, I guess. Or
that makes sense.
Maybe it's like a phone where the new one drops and you're like, I got to upgrade. If the insurance covers that, of course. If you're paying out of your own pocket, I don't know.
Right. But I mean, as the technology advances, I'm sure that is part of it, right? Because I'm sure it's like, oh, this one, it allows for more mobility or, it doesn't have issues with rust. I don't know,
You think about the leg that Lieutenant Dan got, the legs that Lieutenant Dan got in Forrest Gump. And that was 30 years ago, and how much time, how different, that leg almost looks comical based today. You know what I mean? Like they've got much better legs at this point, prosthetic legs, like the ones MrBeast was giving out. So, the takeaway is ridiculous. We continue to say ridiculous.
Yeah.
But also I don't understand anything about health insurance, so I don't know what can be done.
I'm not sure either. Anytime you feel like you talk about the healthcare and insurance, it just feels like a losing battle. It's uphill, to try and fix this system that seems so broken. And it also, you deal with politics, you deal with all sorts of stuff when you talk about this type of thing in the U.S. system. So it's a tough issue.
I think, to be fair, although health insurance companies, at the end of the day, they want to make money. Yeah. But I don't think they're coming out there, like anybody's at the insurance company going, ha ha ha, we're not going to give them legs. I don't, but, it works the way it works.
Yeah.
And the way it works is apparently leaving a bunch of people with amputated limbs that aren't able to get that fixed. And that is ridiculous.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous. It's a food fight on the Hudson Show. Today, we have the brand new cheese pizza Cheetos. Sometimes people like to know where we found these. This is at Target is where I wound up getting the cheese pizza Cheetos. And I've heard about these for a while, but they only just recently arrived on store shelves. And so now we've got them here on the Hudson Show. And
Woo.
they do, they pass the smell test. If you smell them, they definitely smell like pizza.
They do have that pizza smell. And I can't quite tell if it is just a regular cheese pizza or if it does almost have a hint of pepperoni.
I don't know if I pick up a lot of pepper, but it smells like pizza,
Just
but
pizza.
also in the pizza flavored smell, not it's somewhere between if you walked into a Pizza Hut, what it would smell like, and when you get a bag of pizza combos.
Yeah.
It's somewhere in between there, which is a good place to be, I think.
Sure. For Cheetos? Yeah.
So hopefully it tastes as good as the smell leads you to believe.
Okay, let's try it. You try first.
Can you hear that?
Hear that crunch?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's not bad.
Okay.
It
takes a second.
It definitely, it's a Cheeto, but it's these do not taste like, I was worried that we would get these and they taste like, wow, that you can hardly tell the difference between that and a regular Cheeto. But they definitely have that distinct, herbs and spices mixture that you would taste in a tomato sauce on a pizza.
Yep.
And they've got that.
Uh-huh.
It's not super tomatoey, but it does have the seasoning that you kind of experience on a pizza.
Yep.
So it kind of gives you a pizza experience, and they are good. It's whatever. Yep. Does it exactly mimic eating a pizza? No. But is it pretty good? Yeah.
I could see you pounding these down. I will say, I Cheeto Puffs are great. Mm-hmm. I kind of wish you could get this in the crunchy ones.
Oh, no, you're 100% correct. The crunchy ones are better.
Yeah. Much, much better.
The crunchy, in all cases, I take crunchy over the puffs. And it's odd, too, that they made the cheese pizza flavor available in puffs and not crunchy, because usually it's the opposite. A lot of the flavors that when they do different stuff has been with the crunchy Cheetos. So
right.
A little unusual, but maybe there's a bunch of puffs devotees out there that are like, why don't you give us any new flavors?
Right.
And so they finally threw those people a bone.
Yeah, they're like, we want the special stuff too. So yeah, they had to give some love to the Cheeto Puffs, but it's still very good. But yeah, I would love to see what this tastes like in the crunch. I'm sure the taste is exactly the same. It's just a crunchy.
Better. It's just better.
It's just better. Yeah.
If they ever were to do that. By the way, everyone, life hack, if you've never thought about this before, I always put Cheetos and any kind of chips in a cup for eating. Keeps your hands clean.
Keeps your hands cleaner.
As fun as it is to lick the Cheeto dust off your hands, it's probably better, especially when you're, operating equipment and things like that to keep your hands clean. So.
Also, don't put your hands in your mouth.
Yeah. I will. Now I don't have to. I'll be able to make it through the rest of the morning without doing that. At least because of Cheetos, anyways. There is a new study out from the University of the Obvious that has found that using social media makes you irritable. This is it proves what was already thought to be true, I think, by most people, but they really proved it. They studied over 42,000 people for this study and tracked how often they use social media from like less than once a week, which imagine that. Wow. Imagine being on any social media less than once a week.
That sounds like a good life.
What do you do? What do you actually read books? Like, what do you do? All the way up to the people that used it most of the day. And they found that obviously there's a lot of people. The numbers don't lie. They found that the more across the board, the more likely or the more time you spend on social media, the more likely you are to experience increased levels of irritability above and beyond that explained by depression or anxiety. So in other words, you can use social media or you can not use social media at all. It doesn't mean you won't be irritable.
Yeah.
But given all the other factors, the more you use social media, the more likely you are to be irritable, to be annoyed. Maybe that explains me.
You're just on it way too much.
I need to stop.
Yeah, you gotta get off that. Gotta get off that TikTok.
Yeah. To stop soaking up all those likes that I got on views and followers I got
on your last little video. I think, as you said, this seems obvious because I feel like a lot of studies have been done tying just different mental health crises, whatever you want to call it, to social media usage. And so it just seems like the more and more time you spend on social media, the more you're opening yourself up to have some really bad mental health struggles. Yeah,
absolutely. So like at the end of the day, what we can say, like realistically, for any of us to just completely stop using social media, there are apparently, according to this study, there are some people out there that really don't.
Yeah.
But in 2025, that's a pretty difficult thing to say, just stop using social media. However, like they just showed how the levels of irritability, anxiety, like just increased the more you used it. So if you feel like you're in a bad mood, one way to improve it is just using social media less. Maybe you don't have to stop. But if you're the most of the day user, maybe dial it back to once a day. Or if you're the once a day user, dial it back to once a week and see if things get better.
Yeah, I would say that. And also one of the biggest things that has helped me is I turned off all notifications.
Yeah, that's
from
huge.
Social media, apps on my phone because they push those notifications to you and they, draw you into that app and then it ends up sucking more time than you want and realize. And so I think that's a really good way to, if you don't want to completely be off social media, but don't want it to, completely take over your life.
Yeah.
Maybe turning off the notifications is a good way to start.
That's, I feel like we're giving a bunch of advice that everybody knows. And we all just need to actually apply it.
Yeah.
I would say happy Monday, but it's not exactly a happy Monday for me. The Green Bay Packers did get eliminated from the NFL playoffs yesterday. And I think I'm handling it well. I've only broken down and cried 8 times. But I do think I'm handling it well. But I'm also, it's opened my eyes, their game yesterday, to a hard realization that I'm very afraid to admit that it may be true.
Okay. And
that is, I don't know if the Packers will win a Super Bowl in the next, say, decade. Because I don't know if Jordan Love, their quarterback, is good enough. I think what I found is yesterday their defense against the Eagles played as good as I've seen. Really, they took a couple of dumb penalties that really killed them.
Yeah.
But outside of that, their defense played as good as their defense has played. And they did get the Packers, like they were having guys drop left and right to injury. They lost their top 3. They were without their top 3 receivers by the end of the game yesterday. So you understand why Jordan Love was having a tough time.
Right.
But well before that, he was still struggling. And I just, like, you look at the past Super Bowl winners, any recent season, you can't do it without, like, a quarterback that can take you on his shoulders and win the game.
Yep.
You can get to the Super Bowl that way. The Rams got there with Jared Goff. The 49ers have gotten there with Brock Purdy and Jimmy Garoppolo. But you cannot win without a quarterback that can win the game. You cannot get to win a Super Bowl, I don't think, without a quarterback that can win the game for you. And I don't know that Jordan Love, he's good. I don't know if he's got that in him. He's had flashes, so maybe, but yesterday it sure didn't seem like it.
Yeah, you got to have that game changer mentality to be able to see them win in the biggest game of all, which is the Super Bowl. But, getting there is certainly difficult. As you said, there's teams that have done it before with quarterbacks that are like less than ideal in some situations. But yeah, I mean, look at those Super Bowl winners. You're looking at Patrick Mahomes. You're looking at Matthew Stafford. You're looking at these guys that just were able to make the big plays in those biggest moments. So yeah, that is a good question for the Packers moving forward. Do they need to reconsider, this long-term commitment to Jordan Love?
Yeah. I mean, they're not, that's the thing. Like, they've already signed him. And in the NFL, unless your quarterback is like bad enough to routinely not get you to the playoffs, you just can't risk giving him up.
Right.
So the Packers aren't going to, like, Jordan Love's going to be there unless he truly begins to suck, which I don't, like, he's not that bad.
Right.
He's just not, I don't know that he's got it in him. He may still grow. It could come, but I'm very concerned about it. Just like if I was a Chargers, they always thought they had their quarterback of the future too. And Justin Herbert, looked absolutely horrible against the Texans. So a lot of teams need to do some retooling after they exited out of the playoffs. And I'll tell you, this is why I actually think, don't put it past the Commanders to get to the Super Bowl because of the quarterbacks left in the NFC. Tell me they don't have the best one. They don't have the guy who can make the biggest difference in a game on his own without any outside help.
In the NFC? Okay, yeah, maybe. I was like, wait, what? Oh, you had to finish the statement first before I got to the rest.
They've got the Lions on deck, but I mean, who would you... Jaden Daniels is not, like, he got one playoff win now. He beat the Buccaneers last night on a doinked field goal to lose the game. But tell me that, like, if you need somebody to win you a game, you're not taking Jaden Daniels over Jared Goff.
Maybe. I don't know. I'll see it. I'm going to wait and see how that game goes. I don't really buy the command. It was a close game. I mean, they won by a field goal. I don't know how much you can really pull away from their beating of the Buccaneers, who were 10-7. Right.
Teams, rookie quarterbacks don't win on the road in the playoffs. They don't win really, period.
Yeah, that's true. But I just don't know if you can really. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like you have to take that win for the Commanders, even though they had a great season. Take it with a little bit of a grain of salt because it didn't look like some amazing, like, world-beating team. Now the Houston Texans, on the other hand, they're looking a little dangerous.
Yeah, well, it's tough to say. Are the Texans that good?
Are the Texans that good or the Chargers that bad?
Not even the Chargers, generally, just Justin Herbert. I have been anti-Justin Herbert this entire time. I've always thought, like, I've thought about him what I feel like I'm afraid I'm starting to feel about Jordan Love the entire time, which is Justin Herbert is good, but he's not going to win you a big game.
Yeah.
And he's now shown that twice in the playoffs. And in this case against the Texans, just absolutely, I'm trying to find the right words, sucked.
It was abysmal.
Yeah.
I feel like the Chargers didn't have that bad of a defense in this season, though. Yeah. And CJ just, their team played had a great game. So I feel like you got to give some credit to the Texans.
And quickly, the Steelers are probably, out of all the teams, the team that needs to really, because they don't have a young quarterback with potential, and they couldn't stop their rival on defense, which is like their calling card. The Steelers always have great defense. So they're the team that needs to look in the mirror and go like, what the heck are we doing going forward? Is Tomlin going to be there? I'm not. I feel like
question.
He might wind up in like Chicago or something.
Ooh.
It's our Monday tradition, the box office breakdown, looking at what made money and what didn't in theaters over the weekend. Of course, let us know if you've seen any interesting movies or TV lately at 8772 RadioU. We'd love to hear your reviews. I'll tell you, it was a meager showing at the box office this weekend. Some paltry,
I wonder why.
Paltry numbers coming in. Den of Thieves 2 is number one. It only made $15 million.
Ooh.
I don't know what the budget was for that, but
definitely more than 15.
It seems that way, but I also don't know. Like, if I just told you to imagine in your mind without knowing, how much did you think Den of Thieves 2 would make in its opening weekend? 15 feels about right.
I mean, sure. With what was happening this weekend in our country, it just feels like there was not a lot of hope for films to make a lot of money.
True. Number 2 was Mufasa. That is now in its 4th week on the charts. It made another $13 million. And Sonic the Hedgehog 3 came in at number 3, fittingly with $11 million. Also in its 4th week out. What's the last thing you watched?
I gotta be honest, I did not watch any new shows, any new movies over the weekend. I was fully engrossed in football and football and football. Mm-hmm. I'm also doing my 100 books in a year challenge, so I'm reading a lot more. So I'm just watching TV and movies less. So I didn't watch any new things this weekend.
We should do a book office breakdown. You can tell us about the books you're reading sometime.
Maybe, yeah.
I've seen 2 things. One, I watched one of the Oscar movies, which is A Real Pain.
Okay.
That's the movie with Jesse Eisenberg and Kieran Culkin. It's weird because it's only an hour and a half, which I appreciated. Like some movies now, they get so long. Mm-hmm. I like the hour and a half runtime. However, it felt like it was a good third of a movie.
Oh.
Not because of the runtime, but because it just feels like it didn't exactly have a beginning, middle, end. And like we said with Oscar stuff, a lot of times it's all character and no plot. That's what this is. It's kind of a character study a little bit of Jesse Eisenberg's character a little bit, but much more Kieran Culkin. And if you like his character, which is just like who he is in real life, basically very, what's the right word when you curse a lot?
When you curse a lot?
Yeah. Sailor's mouth.
Yeah, he's got sailor's mouth.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a what you mean. Foul mouth. That's what I was looking for.
He's got a foul mouth.
There's a foul mouthed, fast talking guy. I don't know, but that has some sadness within him because his grandmother passed away. That's what you get in this movie, and it takes place in Poland. So the added where they're going to like Holocaust remembrance sites and stuff like that. So it makes sense that it's maybe up for some awards this year. It was enjoyable, but it just didn't feel like a full movie to me. Yeah. The other thing I watched was the first episode of the MrBeast, or whatever it's called, MrBeast Games or whatever on Amazon. And it frustrated me. Okay. Because I've just instantly the math that's going through my head as these people are making decisions about, they're trying to win $5 million or whatever. I got very frustrated with people.
Okay.
So the show starts, there's 1,000 contestants. Mm-hmm. They're competing for $5 million. But before anything really starts, there's also $1 million. And you can opt out of the game and take $1 million. However, you have to split that with everybody else that opts out.
Oh.
Guess how many people opted out?
How many?
Like 57.
Oh, no.
That's not enough.
No, that's not a lot. But that's still pretty good.
They each got almost $20,000.
Yeah.
Just for showing up. So all those 900, however other many people, now you're going to compete against 900 some people and you're going to be the one that wins $5 million? Take the $20,000.
Right.
Mathematically, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
And then they split everybody into groups of people. And then one person from each of these like teams of 80 people had to eliminate themselves to let the other 79 go on. And the last 3 groups of people that didn't pick somebody to eliminate themselves where the whole team was eliminated. And people are like, I feel like I have to sacrifice. No, you don't. You could have just sacrificed yourself for $20,000 5 minutes ago. And now you're like, I have to give myself up for no money so these other 79 strangers can win. You're a moron. It really upset me. It really, mathematically, these people are not making smart calculations at all.
No, I would have taken that first exit.
Yeah.
No matter how many people would have done that, you would have at least gotten something.
If everybody opted out, you still would have got $1,000. That's pretty good for doing nothing. Allie, you ever think your dreams, you ever think they mean anything? They ever try to tell you something?
Sometimes I have felt that way. Sometimes I felt like, oh, maybe this does have like some type of meaning to it. But most of the times I feel like they're pretty ridiculous.
Yeah. I can't recall a time where I've had a dream where I'm like, I think this means something. Some people think that about every dream.
Yeah.
Which I do think is a dangerous way to be.
Yes.
That you're thinking like whatever ridiculous thing happens in your dream means something. I don't think that's always the case.
Right.
I do think, though, I definitely think that sometimes your dreams mean something. And I just don't mean, because, some people are like, well, dreams are like your mind trying to work out problems. So if you've been stressing about something, maybe you can learn something from the way you dreamed about it or whatever, blah, blah, blah. I think it's more than that. I think your dreams can teach you things about your life just because, it gives, maybe it's your mind giving you a different way to look at things. But also, I believe that God can speak to you in dreams. Do you believe that?
Yeah, absolutely. There's evidence of that in the Bible.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. Some people might go, well, I'm not so sure about that. But yeah, I mean, there's many instances in the Bible of people getting spoken to by God in dreams. Yet again, I don't think that's every single dream we ever have.
No.
But I don't think you can write it off. Now, it is tough to say. Some might be like, well, if God does, how do I know which ones are God and which are not? I think maybe trust your instincts, first of all, because if something is, if you're having a dream about SpongeBob, probably odds are I feel like that might not be as much from God. Not saying it couldn't be, but, trust your instincts. But also, while God will speak uniquely to you, the things he will say to you in your dreams are not going to fly in the face or not go against what you've seen, what you would have seen in the Bible. So you need to check that too, Yeah. And the thing is, if maybe you're a little worried, like, what if I just like don't get it from the, like what if God is, I didn't even realize. That's not the only way God speaks to you too,
No.
No. Some of us might be thinking that, that like, what is God? Why isn't he ever talking to me? I think it's because we're not paying attention. You're either too busy with other things. You're too busy with social media, like we talked about today. You're too busy focusing on other things, other stuff in your life that you don't give space to God to speak to you. And so you're just not paying attention.
Right.
So I feel like that's something that each and every one of us, no matter what your relationship with God is like or lack thereof, can create more space in our lives to listen to God and find out what he has to say to you about your life, about the problems that you're going through, and maybe about stuff that you don't even realize you need to be talked to about. God can do that for you. And why should you listen to God if you don't? I don't know, maybe because your life would probably go a little better. Things would be a little easier for you if you're paying attention to what God is saying, because he's the God of the universe. And so he's got the answers to your problems, and he's got ideas of how to get you through life that, again, to us mere humans, they've never even crossed our minds.
Yeah. Well, I love what you said there of like, sometimes we complain about we don't hear from God, and yet so often is the case, we don't create that space. There's a reason why it says, be still and know that I am God. We don't give us the moment to be still. What do we do when we go into prayer often? We go in with, this is my prayer.
Yep.
I say this prayer every time. I'm going to recite it right now. And then I say amen. And then I am done. That's not how you're supposed to pray. You sure, you can open it up and say something at the beginning, but then give that moment where you just sit and just be patient and listen and truly be still. And that is the moment when you finally actually will give God a moment to speak. It's like showing up to a lunch with your friend, and the whole time you just talk and talk and talk
and
and
then
talk.
you get up and walk away once you've said all you want to say.
Right. It's like, that wasn't very fulfilling, was it?
Definitely take that time to give God some space where you're not the one talking, and let him talk. And be aware, I feel afraid saying this sometimes, because some people then will be like, God's speaking to me all the time, and he's saying all these things that I happen to already agree with. Isn't that convenient? But be aware too of your dreams and other stuff going on in life. Like, God can speak to you in many different ways. Pay attention and give him time to. You want to know more? RadioU.com/free gift. Love him or leave him. Whenever you need relationship advice, you know where to go. RadioU. Let us know, 8772-RadioU, and we can help you out. Not just Allie and I, but the entire RadioU audience is always very helpful, not judgy. And so this one, I don't know, I might be a little judgy. Okay. This one is wild.
Oh, no.
We have a gal who says, for context, first of all, my boyfriend and I have been together for 3 years. Since I've known him, he's always loved Pokemon.
Okay.
Red flag.
No, come on.
No, I'm kidding. Personally, I have no interest, but as his partner, I encourage his hobbies and support him. I like that.
Yeah, that's
We're off
great.
to a good start.
Yeah.
However, this Christmas, we had a few brief conversations about our Christmas budgets and have mentioned to each other that we, the things that we've been wanting, et cetera, et cetera. I knew Pokemon packs were on the top of his list, so I made sure to get him some. I mentioned wanting a few beauty products and a hoodie, and Christmas comes around, and to my surprise, I opened my gifts. The first one was a pack of Pokemon cards.
Oh.
Okay, whatever. The next one was a booster box of Pokemon cards.
No.
I stop and ask if he's joking because this must be a joke, right? Well, he smirks and says, keep going. I open my next and final gift. It was another booster box of Pokemon cards.
Oh.
He was full of excitement while I opened my gifts. That's it. Those are my 3 gifts. Again, I am not interested and have never been interested in Pokemon. After this, I told him I needed a moment to myself, went to my bedroom, took a moment to gather my thoughts and lower my temper. When I come back to the living room, there he was on the floor. Both booster packs and a pack of cards he got me were open and sprawled across the floor. I was in shock. Not only did he get me gifts that I didn't want, but he actually got them for himself and tried to play it off. I've been trying to move past this for the past couple of weeks as I did not want to seem ungrateful, but I just can't believe he would do something like this. Every time I've tried to bring it up, he has told me how expensive those booster boxes were and how I made him feel bad for not appreciating my gift. Am I being ungrateful or is he just a jerk? Love him or leave him.
Oh,
Radio
my
U.
goodness. This is a tough one.
8772 Radio U. Your boyfriend of 3 years should know you don't like Pokemon cards. And that's all he gets you for Christmas. And then he opens them up for you. 8772 Radio U. We need some help. We need some help for this poor girl.
We do.
A lot of good advice coming in, I would say. We have Kim who says he is selfish and childish. Leave him. Unless this is a totally one-off situation, but it doesn't sound like it.
Nope.
I mean, they're 3 years in.
Yeah.
I'm curious what the previous Christmases and birthdays were like.
Right.
I feel like if this happened before, she would have,
told us
done something. Yeah. Yeah, right. Every Christmas he does this. But so I feel like it could be just kind of a one-off.
Kind of a one-off, but also it just feels like it feels to me worse when it's like they have been in a relationship for multiple years and he pulls a stunt like this. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like if you'd only been dating for a few months and you did something as stupid as this, you could probably get away with it.
Yeah.
If you've been dating someone for 3 years, it's like, you should know what she's interested in.
It's funny that the shorter amount of time that they have been together, it becomes in a way more passable, but also more likely that you would break up with them.
True.
But maybe.
But you have the excuse of knowing them less.
Yeah, you know them less. But also, if you got a bunch of stuff that you absolutely do not want for your Christmas, and it's somebody you hadn't built up years and years of love with, then you might be more likely to just be like, well, this is it.
Maybe, but you also might give them a chance to be like, hey, this is not actually what I like.
Yeah. Susanna says, pretty significant red flag unless you left out that he's 14 and you started dating when you were 11. That is not the case.
She told us his age. I don't even want to give this away to make anybody feel bad, but he's 30. He's
not good.
30
not
and pulling this.
Yeah. Regina says, if this was she's being a little charitable with this, which I like. We always
like both sides.
We leap to the leave them thought process initially because it's the only thing you know about this person is the stupid thing they did. Right. Regina says, if this was an attempt to get you into the hobby, it was terribly handled. That's right. Maybe it was like, I'm gonna, maybe she'll share my love of Pokemon if she just gets some cards and gets her into it.
Right.
But still, even if that was if he had the purest intentions, it's still handled horribly and still him not thinking things through. She also says, Regina, if he knows you don't like them, he's a jerk. That's the second person that said he's a jerk. If you want to try to save the relationship and get a mediator to try to communicate how hurtful that was. That sounds like she's not gotten a mediator, but she's tried. Aurora came in and Freddie said something similar. Aurora says a third jerk. Third person says he's a jerk. I love Yu-Gi-Oh! And MTG. You know what MTG is?
I don't.
Magic the Gathering.
Oh, okay.
I kind of feel embarrassed. I know that. But you couldn't give some... okay, let's start over. Aurora says he's a jerk. I love Yu-Gi-Oh! And MTG, but wouldn't give someone with zero interest cards. And then what she said, and Freddie said something similar, what she can do is sell the cards on TGC Trader or eBay and get what she really wants. Freddie said the same thing, a la in The Simpsons when Homer gets Marge a bowling ball. And she takes the bowling ball and gets bowling lessons with the sexy Frenchman.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that'll teach him. And that would teach your boyfriend here. So that is the best case scenario. You take the cards, don't let him see them, don't let him have them, sell them, get what you actually wanted.
Is that really the best? I feel like that's going to break down their communication even further because they'll be like, you sold the gift I got you even though I'm the one using it. But yeah, I feel like you should just, obviously she said she's already tried to share with him that she doesn't appreciate the gift and is kind of hurt by it. But I agree with, I think it was Regina's point that there should be a mediator. So maybe some counseling involved. Yeah. Where you go through some couples counseling to be like, hey, this really hurt and I don't want to see this in the future. If we want to continue this relationship, this is just one scenario, but we don't want more of this to happen. Yeah, that sounds like a lot of work though. Let's just leave them. No, you're probably right. They've been together for 3 years for a reason. Yes. So that always, trying to make it work usually is the right answer at this point, but it's not good. No. Ready to blast off, Allie? It's time. Although I guess in this case, we're not in space like we should be. Early this morning, Jeff Bezos was supposed to get a little late birthday present. This company, Blue Origin, is going to be shooting off a rocket at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. There was a launch window. It opened at 1 a.m. But unfortunately, their 30-story New Glenn rocket is not able to get off the ground. A failure to launch. Failure to launch. There was some type of, they called it anomalies. Yeah. With their rocket, which is basically just, they had some issues with the engineering, the computers, whatever it may be, that they just felt like they didn't have enough confidence to send this thing up. The word anomalies is a weird choice to make to me. Because it sounds, I don't know what is the actual definition, I'm not sure, but to me, I had to define it to be rare and unexplainable. Yeah. And yet they seem to use it a lot, which means it's not that rare. And it's their way of explaining things. Anyways, they say, we are standing down from today's launch attempt to troubleshoot a vehicle subsystem issue, according to Ariane Cornell, which is Blue Origin's vice president of in-space systems. So anybody looking forward, Jeff Bezos or otherwise, to a late night, early morning rocket launch from Florida was left sorely disappointed. Sorely disappointed. I have to say, as a person from Ohio, I love that the rocket's called New Glenn. I'm sure that's named after John Glenn. Could be. It's spelled the same way with the two N's, but... I was thinking Glenn Howerchuk. Oh, really? Yeah, the hockey player. I'm sure that's what they were going for. No, wait, that's Dale Howerchuk. It's a totally different guy. I don't know hockey that I was just going to go along with that. But no. It's definitely John Glenn. But it's sad that they weren't able to launch it. But, you don't want to risk anything. You don't want to be known for the people that launched a rocket when it shouldn't have. Yeah, exactly. The good news is they caught it before something catastrophic could have happened, I suppose. Yep. The bad news is now we have to wait until who knows when. I don't know if they've rescheduled it yet. Yeah, I'm not sure if they've rescheduled it, if there's another window of time that, will open up soon, or if it's a while away before they can even do this again. Because those windows, man, when they close, it's like you have no option. You just have to wait. Glenn Howerchuk. What was I thinking? I don't know. You
I'm
should
slipping.
be disappointed. You
I'm
are
slipping.
the hockey representative on our show.
I'm now scurrying my mind for a name for somebody named Glenn something, and I can't even think of one. I can't think of another person named Glenn.
It's because it's John Glenn.
Yeah, but there are other Glens in the world.
There are other Glens.
And I'm blanking.
Yeah, but I feel
totally
like it's
blanking.
very rare for their names to be
Glenn.
Glenn.
Let me just say something that sounds right. Glenn Phillips. No, that's not anybody. Thanks for listening to The Hudson Show. Please don't forget to rate and review the podcast.